Hello, everybody. Josh Brown here, back for another great episode on Franchise Euphoria. Well, today's episode is brought to you by IndieFranchiseLaw.com, a leading resource in the franchise space to help you if you're considering buying a franchise, turning your business into a franchise, or growing your business through a licensing or franchise structure. So go on, check it out, IndieFranchiseLaw.com. I think you'll find a lot of valuable and free information as you continue to kind of weigh franchising and licensing and the growth of your business. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy today's episode. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Scott Schubiger, who has been on all sides of the franchising industry with roles as the franchisor, franchisee, and private equity investor level. In his most recent role, Scott leads franchise development work for LunchboxWax. LunchboxWax is a boutique speed waxing franchise catering to men and women. Since Lunchbox's inception in 2010, it has been the brand's mission to empower their guests through waxing services that allow people to be confident, hair-free, and carefree in mere minutes. It offers various options, such as monthly memberships and wax series, which gives guests the option to stay smooth year-round and save money. Every detail of Lunchbox Wax is designed to bring the caring, authentic connection of an upscale boutique into the sensory-based concept, providing a luxurious experience for the guest. As COVID-19 hit, the brand had to get creative if they wanted to continue their momentum on the development side, and Scott implemented virtual discovery days and informative monthly webinars. These virtual presentations are led by Scott and the franchise development team, showcasing the franchise opportunity to prospective franchisees. The brand has successfully put on 2 of these already, with a third one slotted for July. As a result, Lunchbox Wax has already signed more than 5 multi-unit deals in new markets for the brand. I really enjoyed this conversation with Scott. We talk about his background, his experience in franchising, and about the Lunchbox Wax franchise model. So hope you enjoy this interview as much as I do. Thanks so much and enjoy. Hello, Scott. Welcome to Franchise Euphoria. How you doing?
Hi, Josh. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me today.
Well, thrilled to have you come on to talk about Lunchbox Wax, obviously a franchise that we have not discussed yet on Franchise Euphoria that has a really interesting history. And I look forward to you talking all about that, as well as you guys have done some really unique and interesting and good things during this whole COVID-19 crisis. So look forward to hearing about that as well. But before we dive into those things, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with the brand.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks very much. Look, my background, I've been kind of a career biz dev, chief development officer type guy. I actually started my career in technology, Cisco Systems, HP, companies like that. And I got my first taste of franchising back in 2004 when a friend and mentor of mine was looking for an international business development person for a real estate franchise brand. So that was Sotheby's International Real Estate for Asia. So
Sure.
I wanted some international experience under my belt at the time. And I said, what a great opportunity, a luxury high-end brand as part of a conglomerate. Some people know, but not all, that a lot of the real estate brands are franchised and they're owned by one parent company. At the time, it was called Cendant here in New Jersey, and it later became Realogy. So I had an opportunity to cut my teeth in franchising across the globe and sold myself out of a job. We sold every country master-wide franchises, came back and started Better Homes.
Nice job.
Nice job. Thank you.
It's like, congratulations. Now you don't have anything else to do.
Yeah, it was one of those, when when I was looking at the map and there were only a few countries left, I had to kind of, pace myself. But no, it was all good. And it led to coming back to the States and launching a very iconic name in Better Homes and Gardens. Everyone knows the magazine. And the company bought the rights to franchise it. And so we did that. So I was able to, with the CEO, launch a brand here in the U.S. And again, that cut my teeth with franchising. And then I've just been in it ever since. I love putting people into those new careers, those new, be their own owner, maybe leave corporate America and really run a small business that they're passionate about. And so that franchising start led to many different things. I quickly went off to a lot, as you know, private equity has come into the space quite deeply. 2 times in a row, it repeated itself with a private equity firm buying a large fitness chain in Snap Fitness, over 1,000 units. And I came in to be their CDO. And then it repeated itself with Rita's Ice, a kind of a Philadelphia iconic dessert brand.
Sure, I know both of them. Yeah,
There
I've
you
worked with both
go.
of them. Yeah.
And I would say that I would eat the Rita's Ice to go work out at Snap Fitness. So I kind of covered my bases there. But did that. Then got the taste of private equity myself, and I launched a company with my old mentor called Z Growth, Z playing off Zors and Z's. And we had a Z Growth Capital, which was a fund, and Z Growth Partners was the consulting arm. So what we would do is if we, and I vetted about 150 different concepts, and this is a long-winded way of getting me to how I got to know Debbie and the brand. And as we vetted these concepts, if we liked them, we would then make a capital injection and hire ourselves on the growth side. So it was a really interesting play. Enjoyed it immensely, and that's how I got to know Debbie. It was funny. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but I was speaking at a franchise conference in Park City, Utah, and I'm sitting on my deck in the hot tub, and I look out and see this iconic logo in LunchboxWax, and I get out of the jacuzzi and put on my clothes and my robe, and then my get dressed, and I run over there, and I had to check this brand out, right? And so that's how I got to know the brand. I hunted Debbie down. We began talking. Gosh, this was 2015, 16, and she started the company in 2013. And I just, we were never able to commence sort of a capital investment at the time, but I loved the brand. I loved what she was building. We stayed in touch. And long story short, I came back to consult for them. She asked me to come in and help with franchise development and real estate the end of 19. And I came on full board here with the company Q1 of this year, and just really excited to be a part of it.
What a time. Timing's everything, right?
No
And
doubt. No doubt.
so you come in with all these plans, you come in with, your roadmap and everything you've done, which is a whole lot. Historically, you bring a whole lot of experience to the table. And I'm sure you had plans out the wazoo of,
Yes.
this is what we're going to do. This is our growth plan. These are the markets we're going to hit. These are the regions we're going to expand here. And then COVID hits.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Talk about that.
I will. And here's the interesting thing that I love the brand. I always say that this brand punches above its weight a little bit. And what I mean by that is we have 47 units open, Josh, and about 52 in development. And so I came into a brand that, was beyond that very early emerging brand stage. But more importantly, I give Debbie a lot of credit. In 2018, as a founder, you usually don't do this, but she paused franchise sales to build the foundation.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
More brands need to do that, Scott.
It's very hard, right? Because they're tempted to take a check from a franchisee and they just want that initial money in the door. But if they can't support them and they don't get open, what good is it, right? So she was very insightful to say, look, we need to correct some things in-house. We need to build some structure to help support the franchisee base. And this is pre-me. So this is all Debbie and Christo and, our COO, and I give them a lot of credit. So knowing that they had done that, and when they were ready to hit the gas again, I jumped on board. Now, having said that, here we go, and right away COVID hits. But this is a brand, because of that foundation, because of the culture, we were really quickly able to pivot pretty swiftly, and we were already thinking of things. I'll give you an example, like discovery days. We were already thinking of doing virtual discovery days. And the reason is it's based in Boise, Idaho. And our second headquarters, if you will, our COO, CFO, we're kind of split, is in Scottsdale. Frankly, it's hard to get to Boise, especially from the East Coast. So, and I'm in New Jersey, right? So, we would bring candidates from the East Coast. It was usually a hop, gets expensive. And so we were kind of thinking about doing virtual discovery days anyway. And then, of course, when March hit, we were well positioned because we were already having some plans around it, and we've done just extraordinarily well with it.
Random question before we talk about sort of COVID and some of the changes. How'd she come up with the name? What's the story behind the
Well,
name?
it is a very cheeky, a name on the edge. She'll tell you, and she tells, we do have Debbie come on. She's so transparent and personable and wants to engage with the franchisee candidates. She's great. So we get to use her a lot. It was funny. It was a 72-year-old woman who was in Sun Valley, Idaho. She started this business in Sun Valley, and she came in and, and said to Debbie, I call you my lunchbox wax because I'm on my lunch hour. So, instead of lunch, this woman would come in for her speed waxing and quickly grab a bite to eat and get her speed waxing all within the hour. And so she called it lunchbox wax. And that always stuck with Debbie. And so, there's that, but there's also another, I'll say my chief marketing officer colleague says it's a marketer's dream, right? So we get kind of edgy with it, as you can see from our logo, which is Miss Box. So it gets very clever.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great name.
Yes. Well, I'll say this. It's polarizing. So
Well, that's a marketer's dream, like you said.
that's a marketer's dream. That's right.
You never want to be like, I'm kind of vanilla. This is not vanilla. So this is
No,
polarizing. So you're going to get some attention.
you bet. You bet.
So I'm curious, you hit on a couple of different things. Number one, first of all, franchisors, a lot of them emerging franchisors need to slow down and pump the brakes sometimes. So
Mhm.
sometimes, there's so often they're just in the mode of sell, 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 sell. And then they have some success. And then it leads to disaster because they don't have a foundation in place. They don't have operations that are up to task and so forth. So when you went back, you paused it, she paused it, and now you
Mhm.
come full fledged. How have you been able to build upon that? I mean, 47 open and 52 in development, that's no small feat. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And I think I'll say this. I think, first and foremost, we're a brand that's quite scalable. And, when you look at the numbers, and I'll call it the back of the napkin math, Josh, and it's all in our item 19, but, we've got and again, this is part of the course correction we did. Debbie started out with 3 or 4 room salons, and now we've sort of right-sized it, made it efficient with 5 room salons and 1,500 square feet. And those stores that are 3 or 4 years old and mature are doing upwards of 800 to a million plus top line. And there's some really good EBITDA there. You can do, extrapolate a 20 to 25% margin.
Well, I like the size. I mean, I do like the size. So often I see in the retail space, people are overbuying retail space in the franchise sector.
Yes. Yes.
People don't realize this, but the difference between if you're a brand, I mean, 1,500, I think that's a good amount, right? But if you were 2,200 or
Mm.
2,300, that's 7 to 800 square footage. You multiply that out over a 10-year lease. Oftentimes, when these franchisees are getting started, that can make the difference between breaking even and losing money.
Very
I
true.
mean, and so a lot, oftentimes and then you see there's just wasted space. So I do think that's a good size.
Yes, thank you. And again, it didn't come just right out of the gate. We had to tinker with that a little bit, and we feel like we've maximized the revenue per room that can come out of that square footage without jeopardizing the experience. Because at the end of the day, we're all about the experience that the customers get. But the other point is why we've been able to scale pretty well is I think 2 things. One is because it's scalable, we usually only sell 97% of our franchisees are multi-unit franchisees. So we sell 3 packs, 5 packs, what we call 3 packs, 5 packs, 10 packs. We really don't sell a single very often.
Why is that?
Well, a couple reasons. One, especially where we have so much greenfield and turf, what we like to do is find a really good franchisee, oftentimes another franchisee of another brand, right? So our profile is usually very sophisticated. They've have franchising experience, but not always. They don't have to have the franchising experience. The real reason is because geographically, when we build out the U.S., we are picking at certain strategic, I'll call it NFL cities or markets, that we want to colonize that market. We want to build brand equity. And the greatest way to build brand equity is to choose a really good partner that over a few years can have 3. And then I'll give you an example, like a market like Texas, obviously there's many multiple 3 packs in certain cities throughout Texas that we're carefully calculating, carving up the map with some really good real estate software data analytics that we follow. And then we just kind of fill those in with really good franchisees.
So this is really interesting to me because I like the concept of going with, I mean, you're seeing that as a trend for years now in franchising where a lot of franchisors are going away from sort of the single unit operators, going more to the
Mm,
multi-unit developers or area developers or, just multi-unit operators. And like you said, all the reasons you said, right? I mean, you get somebody good in there, you want them to have more stores, it's easier to manage, you can grow in an area. I'm curious though, these are all built on development schedules.
correct.
And with COVID, obviously, with the pandemic, with uncertainty around any kind of regulations or enforcement or rules. How are you guys dealing with those schedules? Because if you have, I think you said a minute ago, if you're going to buy a 3-pack, you're going to open 3 in 3 years. So
Yes.
you're going to be on a schedule of every 12 months, you're going to open a new location. How are you guys dealing with the uncertainty around COVID and those schedules?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's been our reality, right? So I spend a lot of my time because I also have franchise development with my team. I'm responsible for real estate. So what does that mean? So the existing contracts that are already on the books are great franchise partners who may, at any point in time, Josh, be imminently close to opening that second or third, or finding a lease for the second or third. What we've done is we've gone back. Look, under no circumstances do we succeed if our partners do not. So my whole thrust around this is we need to come up with a solution that you can live with and that we can live with. These are unprecedented times. So what we've been able to do, and we write an addendum page to the, because obviously you're living within the FDD, but we can do an addendum to the contract. And of course, we're more than happy to share that with all of our franchisees because it's a pandemic. What we're doing is we're going back. I'll give an example. The one state where California, right? We have one franchisee that has 7 and he can't get one open. It's the only state that, and the ones that have opened for us are going gangbusters. They're having record months, since they reopened. And this poor business owner, due to regulations in California, cannot open. But so what we've done is proactively, we've said, look, the government has you shut down. We're going to extend your timelines to open to mirror the length of which you're shut down. I mean, your hands are tied, right? So we're proactively going in there months ahead and doing these in the contracts. And our franchisees have really liked that. I can talk to you forever about franchisee relations and how important that is and what we've done for them with
Sure.
PPP loans in March and educating them and rent abatement and how do you get that and how do you write that letter. So all of those things in a really weird way, Josh, if there's been a silver lining in this, it's been, I think the franchisee relations have, obviously been improved.
I mean, that's a great segue because obviously with COVID, some franchises have taken it different ways, right? I mean, some franchises, obviously, you have to worry about the franchisor health, and the franchisor health is predicated on franchisees and selling them and getting royalties and all that stuff.
Yes.
But I have definitely seen across the board franchise systems approaching it different ways. Talk about how you guys have approached it because it sounds like the things you've done during COVID have enhanced your relationships.
They have indeed. Yeah. And again, I'm mindful of every decision my department makes in that it has to be right for the franchisee and our partners because they're the ones driving the bus. We provide a lot of assistance in the blueprint and the game plan, if you will. But at the end of the day, they're driving the bus and we get to partake and enjoy a piece of that royalty for the collective services. So we really do take to heart what can we do to help support them. And again, it's been everything from PPP to rent abatement to helping them mitigate their risk as much as possible. Look, we've always been from a health standpoint, we've always been hospital-like cleanliness, a cleanly environment, one-on-one with masks, right? Not with masks, excuse me, but one-on-one. So the only real difference we had to make is the whole mask protocol, only having one person come in at a time via our great texting tools that we use. So we just don't have 2 or 3 sitting next to each other in the lobby. So we haven't had to pivot too much from a consumer to salon experience because we've already been that. And our customers really, really feel comfortable walking in mask to mask, no temperatures, getting services done. But we've put together COVID procedures and policies and added stuff to our manual and operations manual. So we have been on it. We have task force. We talk to our franchisee council weekly. Every Tuesday we were having calls with the senior management team. And the input and exchange of ideas was very healthy and rewarding. A lot of those then get implemented. So I think for us, it's all about, communication. There's a fine line, as you know, right, Josh, that if you give your franchisees too much of a voice, they're going to expect that every idea they have gets implemented system-wide. But if you don't give them any voice, you're missing a lot of good improvements. So I think we strike the right balance of how do you engage your franchisees who are on the ground, bootstrapping it, and implementing those things that can be beneficial to all. And that's where we've been spending a lot of our time.
So Who is an ideal franchisee for Lunchbox Wax?
Great question. Typically, it's someone that's smart, mature, sophisticated, opportunistic, oftentimes a multi-unit franchisee or a franchisee of another brand. We've got Supercuts, Five Guys, Two Men in a Truck, just to name three right off the bat, franchisees in our system, right? But also at the end of the day, it's someone passionate. So if it's someone that just, a lot of times it's a customer who's been going for years and loves the experience and has always wanted to open a waxing salon. So, if they have some of those attributes and passion, they always have to have the passion. We're really interested to have them go down the path with us to explore the opportunity.
So where do you see all this going with now? I mean, obviously from a COVID predictor model, I'm not asking you to predict where that's
Yeah,
going,
yeah,
but I mean, for me, I've seen, despite the fact that we're seeing obviously some certain states, certain areas, bigger breakouts, there is sort of this resiliency of the business community that I'm seeing where people are just kind of, they can't be forced on the sideline for too long. They just want to get into the action, want to get things happening. I know I'm seeing it in my business. How are you seeing it from a franchise development side? I
yeah.
mean, how are things going for you?
Yeah, great question. And I think the first month it was sort of like a little bit of shock and awe, right? And then getting people comfortable, both our franchisees and our franchisee candidates. Then it pivoted to, okay, what executable plan can I put in place? And then it becomes, let's put that into action. And what I mean by that is oftentimes you hear this saying, well, there's some tire kickers out there. They're looking at a lot of brands and maybe they're not so serious. That's okay. They can begin that process and be tire kickers, but they're not the ones that are moving forward. What we've really been able to distill is those that see beyond with, I'll say that entrepreneurial mindset, those that can see beyond the horizon, can see us through this. And no one knows when. I wish I had a crystal ball. But people take risk reward into account. People know that real estate is a plentiful now, unfortunately. Unfortunately, many mom and pops are not going to make it. The silver lining on that for us is we're able to go in and get really attractive real estate terms. So our franchisees and candidates are saying, look, now's the time to go grab that 3-pack. Now's the time to put my ducks in a row. Money's cheap. The rates are cheap. It's affordable. There's forgiveness on the first 6 months of an SBA loan. I'm going to really double down and get aggressive. And so I've seen this shift from defense to offense, I would say from about April, May to now. And now it's really offense for a lot of our candidates.
Well, if you want to learn more about the Lunchbox Wax franchise, you can go to www.lunchboxwax.com. You can find them on LinkedIn. You can go to lunchboxfranchise.com to learn about the franchise opportunity. Scott, it's been great having you on today to learn more about the brand. It sounds interesting, and you definitely bring a whole lot of experience and know-how to the equation. So I certainly appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate it. And stay well.
Best of luck to you. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Franchise Euphoria. If you enjoyed this episode or have enjoyed the podcast in general, I would really appreciate it if you could go to iTunes and leave me a rating and review. It really helps to get this podcast out to more and more people. So the easy way to do it is go to iTunes and in the search box, put in Franchise Euphoria. You will then see my cover art and you click on my smiling face that says Franchise Euphoria and then click on the link that says ratings and reviews. It's that simple, but boy, oh boy, does it mean the world to me when people leave ratings and reviews. And like I said, it really helps get the show out there. Once again, would love it if you would go to iTunes and leave a rating and review if you enjoyed this episode or other episodes of the show. And until the next time, happy franchising.